Hello, men, boys, and gentlemen, and my beloved, the educated people of the world. Throughout the entire interview session, there was one question that I purposely omitted out of that interview series, and I'm compelled to make a separate video for only that question because this question is that significant, and I'm so happy that a modern guy, is asking this question that makes me believe that we still have hope in this world. I won't say the name or where he he resides and all that. I'll just read his question. Dada, I'm blinded by the modern world, and I was reading about things that takes a human being to his highest potential. I found you, and then I found that you studied in Ramakrishna Mission for some time. I would like to say to you that I blindly follow Swamiji and his philosophies. Can you tell me about the four yogas and what did you learn staying there in the Ramakrishna Mission about these four yogas? So you can understand the gravity of this question and why it needs its own separate video. First of all, thank you for asking this question. And I would like to start this by saying that I am in no means the right person to ask these questions. I am nothing, I'm just a seeker. But I can suggest you that you go to the monks of Ramakrishna Mission, ask them. You can go and buy the books of Swamiji, or you can download it. The PDFs are all available. You can read. But since you have asked me, I would try to explain it as truthfully as I can. And in process, if I say anything wrong, please forgive me, because these are Swamiji's concepts, very deep stuffs. I might fumble somewhere. I will obviously say to you what I know or what I have learned, but I would suggest you to that, in order to know the concepts of Swamiji, why don't you just go and read his books? That would be best. But since you asked me, let's start. So there are basically four types of yogas that Swamiji pointed out. They are Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Raja Yoga. So firstly, let me tell you in a very short way the meaning of yoga. Okay, yoga in its true sense has very little to do with physical exercise and all that. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yog, which means to unite. And the very goal of yoga is not to build a six pack or something like that. Very goal of yoga is to make you one with God, or the God consciousness, what we say, Krishna consciousness or Christ consciousness, whatever, to take your mental frequency, your spiritual frequency, and tune it to the frequency of the God. And there are mainly four pathways of doing it. The four yogas that I said. Now let me explain to you one by one what these are. Firstly, I would like to say that when I supposedly stumbled into Ramakrishna Mission, I was a totally confused teenager. And this four path of yoga that I learned there actually shaped my life after that. And I tried all the four yogas, but I seemed to connect the most with Karma Yoga and a little bit of Raja Yoga, but mostly it's Karma Yoga. Yeah, but anyway, I would like to explain it as I can, and it's up to you which path you will take. But know that any path you take, it will ultimately lead you to God consciousness. So first is Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is called the path of love. Okay, so this is for more of the emotional types rather than the intellectual types. So Bhakti Yoga is actually the path of devotion. Okay, the method of attaining God consciousness through love, or the loving recollection of God. most religions that emphasize the spiritual path, uh, like this is the most common spiritual path you see out there, because it's the most natural, really. Love is one of the most natural states of human beings. So basically, here the devotee or the person who is doing this yoga is known as bhakta or bhakto. Bangla যেটা আমরা ভক্ত বলি, or the devotee who is trying to attain God realization, who is trying to attain the God consciousness through utter bhakti and love for God. Okay, Mirabai is one example of that. And through love, through unconditional, pure love for God, he or she tries to attain oneness with the God, which is going into the frequency of the God consciousness, or thinking like how the God would think. And it is actually one of the most powerful and potent force through which you can attain the God consciousness, because again, love is one of the most powerful things in the universe, something that even Newton can't explain. I mean, Newton has this famous quote that my theories of relativity will work on all things but not love. Love is a force that even I can't understand. So that is what Newton said. So love is one of the most powerful forces of nature. So if you are a very pretty emotional, who loves a lot, who can love a lot, then probably this path is for you. And one more thing is, love is very accessible to everyone. We all love. Okay, someone or something with varying intensity. Okay, love makes us forget ourselves. Our whole attention being completely focused to that object of the adoration, that the object, person, or some abstract thing, whatever. You know, so in love, what happens is the ego, it loosens its grip as we think of that loved thing or that person. So love gives us that concentration. Even against our will, we constantly remember the object of our love or the person of our love. Okay, and in a very easy and totally painless way, love creates the preconditions necessary for a fruitful spiritual life. So, and Vedanta said this, that don't squander the power of love. Use this powerful force for God realization. Vedanta said this. Uh, you must channel your love, that absolutely potent, powerful force, completely channeled towards realizing God realization. And we must also remember that when we love another, we are really responding through unconsciously or consciously the divinity that is within him or her. Okay, we are addressing it, we are validating it. So every person or animal or living thing is a part of the divine that we all know. So when we love, we address that divine. Okay, no matter if it's an animal or a human being or a tree or whatever, or a mountain or a river, everything has a tinge of divinity within it. And through bhakti yoga, we address it. And what modernity made us believe that the thing I'm trying to say is, we tend to misplace the meaning of love these days. We confuse lust with love. We confuse all these things. New terminologies have came up of love. Situationship, flings, and all that. But what we don't understand is love is not that. Love is a vision of what's true, perfect, beautiful. What we tend to do is we have this our own vision of love that is superimposed on us by this modern society, and we tend to confuse that with love. But that's not love. If we love something or someone, it is because we find a shadow of God within that person. Now, to you, the God can be anything. To me, God can be Shiva. To you, God can be Krishna. To someone else, God can be his own father. To someone else, God can be Modi. Who knows? Each has his own image of God, and what actually God is our interpretation of the most perfect thing in the universe. The perfection. If I had to be the perfect, which is impossible to achieve. If I had to be perfect, whom I would keep as my reference of perfection, that is God to me. Okay, to me, probably it's Shiva. To someone else, it's Allah. To someone else, it's Vaheguru. To someone else, it's Christ. So that is not important. The thing is, whatever we love because we see a reflection of that divine self we tend to imagine in a God. And that is why we fall in love. When you fall in love with a woman, uh, yeah, like nowadays, mostly you fall in love for those things. But what I'm saying is, true love comes out of devotion towards that divinity within. Okay, that is why you feel at peace with them. You feel safe with them. You don't feel toxic with them. Why? Because you have that consciousness around you, that vibration of God, the vibration of holy, around you. So if you really think about it, when we love something or someone, it is because we see the reflection of God within that thing or that one person. Think about it. So basically, Bhakti Yoga are for the monks mostly because they take in their entire faculty of love and turn it towards God. Okay, we try to find it in people or things and all that. They, the people who follow Bhakti Yoga, completely focus on God only. They will love God and only God. So that is the path of Bhakti Yoga, basically. Attaining God consciousness through love. The next path is called Jnana Yoga, or the path of knowledge. And when I say Jnana Yoga, I don't mean reading books, attending degrees and all. No. Jnana Yoga is knowing the Brahma, or the Brahman, and the Atma, and their relation, their interdependence. If I have to explain in the simplest terms, you using your own brain, your own analogies to detect the real and the unreal. Okay, you think, and through self-realization, you kind of be able to distinguish between the truth and the false, the Maya and the real. I will explain that. Okay. Now, what is Brahma? Brahma is the ultimate knowledge. From where the word Brahman comes. Who are the Brahmans? First of all, you need to understand that Brahmans are not this thing, that caste system that we know of. No. So in the early days, who were known as the Brahmans? The Brahmans were those who attained God consciousness through any means, mostly through knowledge. Brahma is the ultimate knowledge, okay, which is neither created nor destroyed. It just omnipresent. It just exists there, whether you believe it or not. Brahma doesn't give a fuck. Okay, it existed from eternity. It still exists, and it will exist for eternity. Okay. For example, like take any kind of knowledge that we know. Okay, say most of the leaves are green. Okay, millions of years ago, the leaves were green. Now also the leaves are green. In future also the leaves will be green. Okay, that is the ultimate knowledge pertaining to leaves. Okay, whether you take it or not, leaves don't give a fuck. They will be green only. Okay, leaves won't become red because you think they should be red. Okay, so that thing, that knowledge that leaves are green, that is a kind of Brahma. Okay, because this is an eternal knowledge. In the olden days, anyone could have turned into a Brahman. Anyone. Anyone who realizes, attains God consciousness turns into a Brahman. Now, how do you turn into a Brahman? Or how do you follow the path of Jnana Yoga. And what is this Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga is basically being able to detect Maya. And how will you detect a Maya? How would you know that no, this thing is an illusion? It's not real. When you can go through your brain, go through that, you know, when you talk with yourself, when you do a discourse with yourself and come to a conclusion, like when you can, when you have that faculty in your brain that can come to a logical conclusion that this is not real, this is Maya, that happens through Jnana Yoga. Okay, I would like to say that the modern education system, the modern way of the world is slightly inclined to Jnana Yoga because modern day, if you see, jobs and all that. First of all, this jobs and all is a 21st century invention. Okay, prior to that, people were mostly self-employed. They didn't need jobs. Nowadays, you need jobs to survive. Okay, for that you need the jnana to do that job. Okay, so that is why I say that modern world is not completely loosely inclined to jnana yoga. Now again, I am not the final sayer of these things. I am just interpreting it in my own way. I would suggest you read articles about this, and then you through your own jnana come to a conclusion. Okay, so Gyanis, so people who practice this Jnana yoga are called Gyanis or Brahmins. So Gyanis mostly follow the non-dualistic concept of the Advaita Vedanta, uh, and they can also be called the monists. Comes from the word mono, which means one. Uh, for they affirm to the sole reality of the Brahma or the ultimate knowledge. But while all the Vedantins are philosophically monistic, in practice, those who are worshippers of God, prefer to think of God as distinct from themselves. Someone who resides in the upper layers of existence, and we have to really work hard to reach that. You know, and in order to enjoy, the sweetness, the nectar of this relationship with God, the Gyanis, uh, by contrast, they know that all duality, this is another Brahman, Brahma knowledge, that all duality is an illusion. Duality is ignorance, Maya. There is no duality. It's all one. So that is why they don't need to look outside. They always look within themselves because they know that if, if we have to find the divine that is already within us, within every living thing in this universe. So, and that is where they know that duality is an ignorance, any kind of duality. Okay, say someone says, Acha, তুই বিজেপি, আমি তো টিএমসি. There is a duality. Someone says, তুই হিন্দু, আমি মুসলিম. There is a duality. Okay, someone says, তুই successful, আমি failure. There's a duality. Someone says, তুই ছেলে, আমি মেয়ে. There's a duality. Duality is a maya. There is no duality. It's all one. It's all one. It all goes and joins, focuses into that one thing, God consciousness. God consciousness. And the Gyanis know that. The Gyanis realize that. And through that realization, through their own brain, through their own self-realization, uh, through through talking with themselves, they try to reach God. And that is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the process of directly, completely tearing apart the veil of Maya. But the thing is, there are two ways to approach it. First is Neti, which is whatever falls there is in this world, whatever Maya there is in this world is not permanent. It is imperfect and subject to change. And that is why we should reject it. Any kind of duality, any kind of Maya, we should reject it. And then the second part comes that whatever is understood to be perfect, unchanging, infinite, dimensionless, is accepted as the highest sense. And you would understand what is permanent and what is not, what is perfect and what is not, what is dual and what is mono, what is Maya and what is not. You can understand that by your own means, and that process of entirely understanding by your own means is Jnana Yoga. Uh, are we saying that the universe that we apprehend is unreal? Yes or no? In the absolute sense, it is unreal. The universe and our perception of it have only a conditional reality, not an ultimate one. Okay, under certain conditions, a coiled rope may be mistaken for a snake. So, in similar manner, the rope, that is the Brahman, is perceived to be the snake. That is the universe as we perceive it. While we are seeing the snake as a snake, it has a conditional reality. Our hearts palpitate as we react to that perception when we see the snake for what it is. But but then you have to understand that you are seeing from your perception that this is a snake, oh my god, it will bite me, and then you start to palpitate. But then if you kind of reject all those mayas, all those filters that you have created and just stay away from it and just realize that it is a snake, it's a creation of God, it's a beautiful creation of God, then you will also understand that that is just a living being, just like you, and then you will laugh at your Maya that you are thinking, oh my god, it's a poisonous thing. Now, yeah, obviously, if you think that, oh, it's a God's creation and you go play with it, then obviously it will bite. There also comes your realization through Jnana Yoga that what I should do and what I should not. Going to a snake and pampering it, thinking that it's a God creation, is also an ignorance. Therefore, it is Maya. Therefore, it should be rejected. The idea of going and pampering the snake, the for it is a God's creation. There, your jnana comes. Your jnana tells you that though it's a God's creation, it has some poison in it that can might harm you. So your jnana makes you realize that that thing, that snake, is the same as you. But it's your jnana also that tells you that though it is same as you, it might harm you. So stay away. Appreciate the beauty from afar. That is jnana yoga. That is reaching God consciousness through jnana, if I made any sense. So yeah, so that goes jnana yoga. Now next is what I follow, karma yoga. Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. We all know this uh, verse from Bhagavad Gita. What it means is काम करते जाओ, फल का चिंता मत करो. Do the work. Do the work. Don't even think about the result. So karma yoga is the yoga of action or work specifically. And this path is completely dedicated to work, but through renouncing the results, not thinking of the results, sort of renouncing the results of those actions as a spiritual offering, you rather than hoarding and taking all the results for ourselves. Basically, karma yoga is the attainment of God consciousness through work. That work can be anything. Rishi Aurobindo was another great proponent of karma yoga. He also had a magazine back then that he used to publish named Karma Yogin, and through his words only, the freedom fighters we see around in our history, all the freedom fighters who chose the violent way of driving the British out, they all were karma yogins. What that means is the very act of sacrificing their life, their family, their everything to jump into this holy cause of freeing the country was their highest karma. And the results, They were not afraid of it. Why do you think they trained their mind? Why do you think, like, how did they get to a stage where they completely lost the fear of death? How could these freedom fighters of India l- reach that stage where every torture, everything that British threw at them, nothing mattered to them? How did they train their brain to reach that state? Through karma yoga. Basically, it's working for the country, working for the country, working for the country till you die, and you don't even care what the results are. And this was propagated by Rishi Aurobindo, his brother Sri Barindra Kumar Ghosh, Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda, his brother, Swamiji's brother. He also was the editor. If I'm not wrong, Swamiji's brother was involved with the violent movement of Indian freedom, and he also went to cellular jail. So the entire basis of the Indian freedom movement, the Indian violent freedom movement, not the non-violent one, not this fancy Gandhiji one, no. The violent freedom movement, the real movement, it was based on this very yoga, that is karma yoga. Now I will say you in detail what this is and how through this path you can reach God consciousness. Now to understand karma yoga, you have to understand what is karma. Karma is actually both the action and the result of action, the cause and the effect. If we talk in the language of physics, what we experience today or in day-to-day life is the result of our actions. That is karma. This you can relate to physics with the Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It's the same concept. So this chain of cause and effect that we ourselves have created can be snapped and bypassed through karma yoga. So it's like fighting fire with fire, basically. Okay. We use the sword of karma to stop the chain reaction of that cause and effect, that the never-ending cycle. How? By disengaging the ego from the work process. I'll repeat that again. By disengaging the ego, turning off the ego from that work process, and by offering the results of that work, whatever work we do, to a higher power, such as the God consciousness or the God, or whatever you think is the higher power, whether it can be a personal God that you like, say Shiva or Kali or Matara or Allah or Christ or whoever it is, or it can be the self within. I'm again going back to Bhakti Yoga, the divine self within. You can also completely submit your results to that self within. And by completely submitting our results, we disengage ourselves from attaching our name or our ego with that result. And like that, we stop that whole snowballing process, that whole cycle of cause and effect. And whether we realize it or not, all of us performs some actions all the time. Okay, like even the act of sleeping is an action. Even the work of doing nothing is actually doing something. Okay, that nothing is also something, right? Zero is also a number. So even when you are doing nothing, you are actually doing something. You are actually doing the work of doing nothing. And this action, the very act of action is inevitable. You can't escape it. Okay, and an integral part of being a human, being alive. If we reorient it, if we channelize it into the path of God realization, okay, God consciousness, then we are successfully following the path of karma yoga. So there is this shlok in Gita. I would roughly translate it into English because if I say Sanskrit, it will go above your head. Uh, what this shloka means is, whatever your action, okay, food or worship or whatever, the gift that you give to another, whatever you vow to work of the spirit, lay these also as offerings to me. Krishna is saying this to Arjun. Okay. When Arjun says, my work now is to kill my own brothers out there, how can I do that? Then Krishna says, don't think about that. Right now, that is your work, that is your duty. And for duty, if you have to bear the results, offer that result unto me. I will take care of it. You do your duty. That is what Krishna says to Arjun. Okay. So all of us tend to work with expectations in our mind. Okay. We cannot escape expectations. Okay. You can't go around in the world not expecting anything from anybody. Expectation is a very human thing. We work hard in our jobs, to get the status, the respect, the appreciation, the money. Okay. uh, we, uh, we clean our house, we cook, we eat, and we make them lovely, with the hope that our neighbors will appreciate us. People will see our house, and the cars and all will think, oh my god, he's so rich and all that. We work hard in school to have nice grades, expecting that we will have a good job in the future. We cook some nice meal with the expectation that people who will eat it will praise it and love it. We dress nicely. Okay, in case of girls, they dress half naked nowadays, so that they can gather or garner the appreciation or that lustful eyes from people. I mean, so much of our lives is just run only upon expectation. People will think good of me. This expectation of future. Okay, you are expecting something of the future. Okay, you don't even know what that future is. You just expecting that if I do this, my future might look like this, and we do it automatically and unconsciously. But if you really think, this is a very, very dangerous pattern. Okay, from a spiritual viewpoint, this is a very dangerous pattern that will lead you into misery inevitably. Because if you think like that, you can't really think like do anything by your own. Anything you do, the first thing that will come into your mind is, oh, what will people think? So misery is inevitable when we function out of expectations and the desires, okay, which are unending and unappeasable. And the thirst for that result of the work is also an expectation. Okay, if I do this job, I will, have this. That is also an expectation. Okay, so if we live like that, we will go from disappointment to disappointment to disappointment to disappointment. Now, you can't stop working. Okay, you have to have some action in your life. What you can do is you can separate the ego or the expectation from your karma. What you can do is you can completely disengage the effect from the cause and the cause from the effect, thus breaking that chain of cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And the more you do it, the more potent your work becomes, the closer you get to God consciousness. No matter whether we are spiritual or intellectual or whatever by your nature, this yoga can be easily practiced with other spiritual paths or religion, because it's not really something very spiritual. You're just working, and you are taking that work as a sadhana, an offering to God. Even those who lead a predominantly monk life do benefit from karma yoga. For the thoughts can produce bonds just as effectively as actions. You know, like say as the devotees offer flowers and incense in the worship of their god, so can the actions and the thoughts be offered as worship. Think about it. When you go to a temple, which you don't, I know, you are modern woke people, but I still go. So when we go to the temple, or you see your grandma, grandpas going to the temple, you see they are taking all this incense, garlands to offer to the god. Karma Yoga tells you to offer your work as a spiritual offering to the god. Actions is the offering to the divine. Okay, knowing that the Lord exists in the heart of all creatures. Okay, the devotees can and should worship God by serving all beings as His living manifestations. Okay, like Jesus Christ once said in the Bible, like what we do for the least, for our brothers and sisters, we do for the Lord Himself. Swamiji himself has said, the one who serves the animals serves God. In Gita, it says that a yogi sees me in all things and all things within me. Okay, Krishna says that. So the highest of all yogis is one who burns with the bliss and suffers the sorrow of every creature. He is the highest yogi. Gita says this, not me. Okay, so Kriya yogis or Karma yogis, they take a path that is a little different from the other yogas. Okay, because they know that although the body or the mind performs the action, in reality they do not work at all. So in the midst of intense activity, okay, they rest in the deep stillness of the Atma. They maintain the attitude of a witness, just, it's witnessing. Okay, Gyanis continually remember that they are not the body, not the mind. They know that the Atma is not subject to fatigue or anxiety or excitement or any emotion. The Atma has no struggle to engage in, no goal to attain, no journey, no destination to go. The Atma just exists. The Atma is the universe. It is eternal, infinite. It just exists to offer your spiritual offering and to get in tune with this Atma that is universal, that is the universe. Some people take the path of work, and that exactly is Kriya Yoga or Karma Yoga. Now comes the last form of yoga, the highest form of yoga, that is Raja Yoga. Now, the thing about Raja Yoga is the only yoga that only a select few can do. The other three forms of yoga, any human being can practice. But Raja Yoga, this yoga you have to achieve with lots and lots and lots of practice. What is Raja Yoga? Let me tell you. Raja Yoga is what we truly call the monkness. You know, the very process of completely disengaging yourself from the worldly affairs or anything and everything and just completely going into meditation. That thing that the Maharishis do, or the sadhaks do, or the Buddha did. Raja Yoga is the royal path of the meditation. Okay, as a king maintains control over his kingdom, so can we maintain the control over our own kingdom within us. The vast kingdom of mind and soul and body that we have. Through Raja Yoga, we can have complete control over our entire kingdom, and that is why it is called the Raja Yoga. And in Raja Yoga, we use our own mental powers. It's all about completely controlling your mind and realizing the Atma through the process of psychological control, complete psychological control and mastery. And through that, we attain God consciousness. Uh, that is exactly what the Buddha did and attained the nirvana. So, the basic premise of Raja Yoga is that our perception of the divine self is obscured by the disturbances of the mind. And if the mind can be made still, static, and pure, the self will automatically, instantaneously come in forward and shine forth. That is bound to happen. Okay, you sit and close your eyes and meditate, then you will understand. Most of you don't, but you should. I will again go back to Gita, where it says that when through the practice of yoga the mind ceases its restless movements and become still, the aspirant realizes the Atma, which is the God consciousness. For example, here I will use a very overused example, but it's the best example out there. Okay, say say you have a small water body. Okay, if you take a stick and create waves in it, everything becomes muddied. Nothing is clear. Okay, but if if you let that water rest and come into stillness, then you can see everything that is inside that water. That same is Raja Yoga. When we are in our normal waking state, there are thousands of thoughts bombarding in our mind. Thousands of thoughts. We can't stop thoughts. The only way we can stop the thoughts and become thoughtless, completely thoughtless, and understand that when you become thoughtless, you attend the nirvana. That is what that state is. Complete thoughtlessness. Your mind is completely empty. And that is only possible through Raja Yoga, by utter, complete, deep sadhana or meditation. Should anyone doubt this assertion, let the intrepid soul try to sit quietly for a few minutes and meditate upon the Atma or the God consciousness. Then what happens? 1,000 different thoughts fly all around us, leading our mind outward. The fly that go that goes around the head, or the food that has been prepared, So now we remember where we left the keys and all that, the argument you had with your friend yesterday, they become very vivid, more powerful, and so does the perfect retort that we have cleverly composed. The minute we stop thinking one thought, another one jumps in with equal force. We can't control it, and most of the time we remain unaware of the mind's erratic movements because we are habituated to to let our minds reign free. We have never seriously attempted to observe, let alone train the mind. Like parents whose indiscipline has created children that everyone dreads. Okay, our lack of mental discipline has created the turbulent, ill-behaved minds that we see around all of us these days. That have provided us with so much sadness and difficulty. You know, without psychological discipline, the mind becomes the equivalent of a mental asylum, and all of us have suffered sadly. The mental agony for this. Now, how can we master the mind? Okay, and reach that God consciousness? While we may have grown accustomed to staying with an uncontrolled mind, we should never assume that it is acceptable, if not inevitable. In Vedanta, they say that we can master the mind, and through repeated practice, that is meditation, we can make the mind our servant rather than being its victim. Okay, the mind, when trained, is our truest friend, the most powerful thing that we can have. And when left untrained and reckless, it becomes your greatest enemy. Now, think, okay, instead of the polluted water we talked about previously, now envision a beautiful, clear lake, the kind of lakes we find in the Himalayas. Okay, no waves, no pollution, no plastic all around, no speedboats and all that. It's clear as glass, calm, quiet, tranquil. Looking down through the pure water, you can clearly see the bottom of the lake. The bottom of the lake is like the Atma or the God consciousness, which resides deep within our hearts. When the mind is pure and calm, the self is no longer hidden from the view. And that you can achieve through meditation. Okay, so Raja Yoga is attaining the God consciousness through meditation. So these were the four yogas that you had asked. Um, I am sure that I had not been able to explain it as it should be explained because I am still a student, I'm still a seeker, I'm not any Swamiji or anything. The best thing you can do is read Swamiji's books or Rishi Aurobindo's books, all these books, Vedanta, the Gita. You will find these concepts of yoga properly there. Instead of asking a no one like me, you can read those things. That brings me to the end of this video. Thank you.